7 underclassmen leave Alabama, the most during his tenure in Tuscaloosa, had this to say.
Now we have guys that have no draft grades, 7th round grades, free agent grades, 5th round grades that are going out for the draft. And, you know, the person that loses in that is the player. I've actually changed how I talk to recruits now. You know, I tell every recruit that I talk to, the reason that you're going to college is to prepare yourself for the day you can't play football. I am 100% NFL. I'm 100% guys having careers. But people have to be smart about the business decisions they make relative to the NFL because it is all business. And when people make emotional decisions, they're going to have to suffer some really difficult consequences for themselves in the future.
Really interesting stuff there. My first stop here is with our draft insider, Todd McShay, who joins us. I know, McShay, you've had this conversation with Saban before. Tell us about that.
He's been on this for a couple months now, and I was just doing my thing. I was scouting. I had a notepad in my hand in Mobile, Alabama, the week of the Senior Bowl. He makes his annual trip. He shows up to practice, shakes everybody's hands, and does some media stuff. And he comes storming over to me, and I'm surrounded. Don't forget, by 35 NFL teams, their scouts, head coaches, general managers, and he just is beelining towards me. And I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. He comes up, shakes my hand with a big smile, and then proceeds to tear into me about this, as if I created the problem. And he went on, and at the end of him yelling at me, I finally turned to him. I said, Coach, I'm with you on this. I understand it. It seems like I'm coming from the wrong side and that I'm promoting, but I'm not promoting. I really am not. If you look on my Twitter every single year, if you go back and look at what I've talked about in the past, there are 135 players this year. It's ridiculous. 135 players have left school early. Now, for the first and second rounders, I get it. Go make your money. You should, absolutely. The problem is the rest of the guys, and I'm talking about the 35%, Greeny, that are not going to get drafted. So you're talking about around 50 guys from this class that are not going to get drafted. And then I did a study with Chris Felica, the Bear from College Game Day. You know him well. I did a study with him 2 years ago, and we went back and looked over a 3-year span. Forget even not getting drafted. Over 60% of the players that left school early to go to the NFL draft or to be in the NFL, whether it's a free agent or a draft pick, were not in the league anymore. So you're talking about 3 years of pay, and then you're done. And most of these guys now don't have their college degree and have got to go back and figure it out. So it is a problem. I didn't enjoy getting chewed out in front of everyone in Mobile, Alabama that day. But Coach Saban, he's right. The problem is we keep on trying to give the information, and then there are agents and other people giving bad information, and young men saying, you know what, I'm going to take a shot.
Expand on that thought, because that was going to be my question. Who is telling these guys to make these decisions? Where is the information that Saban is upset about coming from?
Unfortunately, not everyone goes to a school with a Nick Saban or an Urban Meyer and guys like that really legitimately want to give you the best information. Nick knows he's going to lose a handful of guys, probably between 10 and 12 every single year, and most of those guys are going to be underclassmen. He understands that. What we don't want is for young men making the wrong decision to get the information from A, agents, and B, usually just the people around them, instead of taking the information from people who know what they're doing. There is a college advisory committee. The NFL has set that up where you can put in papers and say, hey, I'm looking into this. And what they've changed, they used to say you'll be a 4th round, 5th round, 6th round, 7th round player. Now the answer is you're projected to be a 1st rounder, you're projected to be a 2nd rounder, or the third answer is go back to school. And it hasn't helped. It helped for about 1 year, and now it's gotten worse. We went from 80, 90 players coming out to, again, 135 players coming out of school that do not have their degrees. So it's I don't know how to fix it. You just need to get good information. The good information's from the advisory system and committee, and also talking to your coaches and favoring that information over the agents.
Well done. McShay, thanks a million for that. I appreciate you jumping in here, and we'll talk to you again soon as we bear down on the NFL draft. Not only bring the table into all of this, but the two of you in particular who cover the college game and Wendy covering the NBA. I just wonder, from an NBA perspective, we hear similar kinds of stories. What are you hearing as you're hearing this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something that happens even with probably a higher percentage, maybe not in actual numbers, but a higher percentage of guys who declare early for the NBA draft. There's a little bit more windows for them because there you can go play in China, you can go play in Australia, you can go play in Europe. So some players declare to go pro, not only knowing they're not going to get drafted, they know they're not going to play in the NBA, but they want to make $200,000 to help their family when they're 21 years old. But I will say this, at a school like Alabama or a conference like the SEC, and I'm sure they have programs, you should be able to go back to school. It should never be like, well, he didn't get drafted and now he's got no hope. I realize you can't do that at the Mid-American Conference, but certainly at a place like that, they shouldn't cut him loose. So it shouldn't be something for Saban.
You're absolutely right. I think that there are a lot of yes men and yes women out there that when you have the opportunity, hey, you could potentially be drafted, everyone's going to be like, yeah, go. You should go. Largely because those people, the agents or so, can profit off of you going, not knowing that. Which is why I like the NCAA basketball's now a period to have evaluation. You can go to the combine, literally hear feedback from GMs, coaches, and stuff, not necessarily who specifically, and say, well, you thought you're going to be a first-round pick. You thought you're going to be a second-round pick. Actually, we don't even think you're going to be a draft pick. Getting that feedback is key. And even more important is the fact that you can go back after getting that feedback and go back to school. That, to me, is the most important.
Most universities now have that program put into place where you can come back and you can get your degree, and the university just basically puts you on scholarship and says, don't worry about the fees. We've got you taken care of, even if you've gone pro and you've been successful. I think this comes down to, again, money and opportunity. For a lot of these people that are making this decision to leave early, it's not that they want to leave Alabama. It's not that you want to leave, but it's about the opportunity to get paid because of financial background or maybe needs that you have in your life or your family. There's a way to fix it, obviously. That would be to readjust the NCAA system and how we can find a better way to stipend or incentivize and allow you to market yourself while you're in college. Maybe they would stay in longer at the collegiate level at that point in time. But even with this draft process, there's a player like Tyler Davis who left out of Texas A&M. Now, Tyler Davis, if he stayed at Texas A&M and played his final season, would have had his jersey retired right next to AC Law, the only other men's basketball player to have his jersey retired in the program. He left early. He had dreams of being drafted. Everybody could have told him he wasn't going to get there. He goes to the G League. He doesn't like it. He leaves his G League team and wasn't even on a roster. Now he's trying to reevaluate to try to get to the next step.
And that's interesting you bring that up because in the WNBA/women's college tournament, the big news was that Sabrina Ionescu of Oregon decided to go back to school.
The number one pick.
That's why I say it's interesting which sport you're talking about and which game because, you know me, I'm in the WNBA. It's not an NBA contract you're going to, right? But the opportunity to win a national championship is very important to her, and I think that's great. She made that decision for her. Now, for someone like Jackie Young of Notre Dame, she's already won a championship. We could see her coming out to the WNBA. So it's interesting depending on the sport.
But you know, if you were a junior and you were going to be a top pick, would you wait? The WNBA is going to have a new collective bargaining agreement. There's 1 year left. Potential salaries could go up, especially for the top picks. Maybe that's a reason also to go back, right?
Yeah, as the vice president of the WNBPA, I can't talk too much about that. But as a junior, that's the benefit of being a women's college basketball player. You can only declare after your junior year. Why not stay your senior year and get your degree and then go pro?
Here's the thing that I would say is that we don't spend a lot of time in our society worrying about people who make bad decisions with their lives who don't play sports.
Yes.
You know, so all of a sudden we pretend we're really worried about all these people who are making bad decisions with their lives. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't try and help people and give them all the information in the world that we can, but it would be nice if we worried this way about people who couldn't play football and couldn't play basketball and had something in place for those people if they make bad decisions in their lives.
No, they're absolutely not getting drafted at all. What's going to come next for you?
I mean, the point is, you give people the information, they make the decisions that they make.
And you have to be accountable for it.
Yeah, that's the way the world works, right? People make bad choices sometimes in their lives. We can't protect everyone from absolutely everything that happens. I understand. Someone like Nick Saban, he has sort of a father figure kind of role. He wants to protect his players as well he should. That's what makes a great coach. I'm just saying that every now and again I hear people say, well, these guys are making terrible decisions. They're making terrible decisions. We must do something about this.
No.
as though they're the only ones in the world who are making terrible
That's
decisions.
like-
But let's also think about it from a Nick Saban, not just from a parental role. He's also thinking it from a these
Team
are my
standpoint.
guys. I can win
Yes, of
more with
course.
these guys staying back. There's a little bit of an incentive there for him as well.
All right, we will have more on this as we go. And I'll tell you what else we're looking forward to as we continue here on Get Up this morning. First off, I'll remind you that SportsCenter comes your way tonight 6 Eastern with Kevin Nagandi and Keith Olbermann. College Game Day's must-see matchups tonight. Title game, Texas Tech and Virginia. Could today's afternoon game mark a turning point for the Cubs? And the after effects from Aaron Rodgers' comments today. Packers off-season workouts at SportsCenter tonight on ESPN and the ESPN app after PTI. Then, what I was getting to. Brian Windhorst has to cast his vote today for the NBA awards. He's going to do it live on our show. Who does he have winning MVP and all the other awards? You'll find out as we continue. Get Up on ESPN.
I'm excited for that.